Preston Guy, TigerBait.com. Good enough to join us here on Fridays. Last one in the offseason. Next time we talk to Preston, LSU will have a practice in the rearview mirror. Got to the Jim's Firearms Hotline. Now, Preston, how we doing?
All right, how's it going? Hope you're staying drier today than I am.
Yeah, the studio does pretty well keeping the rain out and sun and any weather at all, because it's just a hole where we don't get any of that through windows or otherwise. So yeah, we're dry, and we'll talk a little bit of football here with you. I'm curious now that we are inside a week, like what's your feeling? What are you excited to go see next week?
Man, I am looking forward to seeing just the unit, the personnel that they're rolling out there, particularly on the offensive line where they're replacing 4 starters. You know, I think fans are probably almost a little tired of hearing about that, but I think that's going to be the key for this team. I like most of the units on this team. I'm a little concerned about the offensive line and certainly how they looked in spring, and I'm hoping to see, sometimes units come into the season as a massive concern, and they end up being okay or good. Look at defensive tackle last year. Every one of us was circling that as the biggest problem, and it ended up being fine.
So as far as the line goes, do you feel like Chester's going to start?
Somewhere. Whether he starts at center or Braylon Moore starts at center and he punches out the guard, we'll see. I think he'll do better at guard. I expect that's probably going to be the move. Of course, they didn't make that move in spring. Braylon Moore stayed second team the whole time, but I have a strong feeling that coaches are wanting to keep, not play all their cards too early, with all these portal windows open. It's easy to get a few guys upset and have them, well, I'm not going to start this year. I'm hitting the portal. So maybe it's better to keep those decisions, with a short list of people knowing it before we re-roll it out to the whole team.
So I'm of the opinion that the offensive line is going to take a step back this year. I think how far back that step is dictates how good the offense ultimately is. Do you see it a different way?
Well, let's put it like this. Last year's offensive line was very good elite pass blockers.
Yeah.
They got 4 guys drafted. But running the ball, they were pretty subpar in their run blocking. So what I'm hoping for is I don't think it's a realistic expectation that you're going to have a Will Campbell out there again this year. But I'm hoping it's more of a balanced unit where they're maybe a little bit better at run blocking, but maybe the pass blocking isn't quite as elite. And that kind of evens out. And I'm hoping that other units step up to kind of pick up the slack. I mean, a lot of your offensive line, you can help out your offensive line in not giving up sacks by having receivers that are getting the ball, getting open way quicker. That tends to help. A lot of times running backs being able to find a tighter hole, that can help out. So that's kind of where I look at it is, I don't think overall they're going to be as good as they were a year ago, although football's funny and things happen. But I'm hoping it's more of a balanced unit, and I'm hoping the talent around them can kind of pull the slack.
So Brian Kelly has said a couple times, whether it's at Media Days, Rotary Club, or wherever, that they didn't do anything with the depth chart in the spring. That was about development. But he wants to settle on that quickly, and that's kind of part of the we got to be better in the opener type deal. Like, we need to know who our guys are pretty quick and then go to practice. Do you feel like they can have an offensive line set after a week and a half?
I don't see any reason why they shouldn't. They've been looking at spring practice with all these guys for how many months. They probably know who their starters are right now. Maybe a spot or two, but I don't think it's going to be the starters that we saw in the actual spring game, and exactly what Brian Kelly was telling you. I think they made the cohesive staff decision that we're not going to determine a starting lineup for spring. And that what goes hand in hand with that is they chose not to do an official spring game. They did an open spring practice, and then guess what? They had 2 more practices after that. The whole point of the way they were doing everything is just, we're just going to practice football. We're not determining position battles yet. But you can't tell me the coaches aren't sitting there evaluating their guys and have some decisions made already.
So how do you feel about Tyree Adams?
Well, I think that's probably your one guy you're looking at here who you're feeling really comfortable about his spot. But if I had to bet on one guy keeping his spot, it's probably Tyree Adams there at left tackle. He just got the build of a left tackle. I think of the guys out there, particularly the guys stepping up and who weren't starters, Obviously, DJ Chester's the only one who does return, and you don't have much confidence. I think you have the most confidence in him.
They threw for 300 and change and 3 touchdowns in the bowl game without a sack given up. I mean, does that give you confidence that even though the only guy that played off that offensive line was Frazier and he was playing tackle, that maybe that there's some real talent there and some real potential?
Yeah, I mean, certainly that does, but I think Baylor also had a bit of a skeleton crew they were rolling out there. I don't think they were working with a full shop of defensive linemen out there. But, yes, against any Division I team to go out there and look that good, that's encouraging. However, I think we all know that with this schedule and this, particularly your first game, the defensive line at Clemson is going to be the nastiest, possibly nastiest in the country, but I believe the nastiest on your schedule this year. You're not looking to just do what you did against teams like Baylor. You need them to step up and play against the best defensive linemen in the country because, and look, hey, South Carolina, talk about a really good defensive line. They've got a really good one, too. So, I mean, you're going to have to go out there and be good enough to stop the best in the country. That's kind of the bar that you have to have with this offensive line. And in my opinion, I don't think they're necessarily going to be good enough to just go up there and one-on-one and man up and go out there and say you're going to get 0 sacks today. Okay, you're going to have to scheme around it. You're going to have to do some things to get them off kilter. You're going to have to call, some screens. You're going to have to make some things happen to where the defensive linemen can't just go white knuckles, leaning straight forward and launching themselves out there, and be effective enough in the running game to where you can, actually keep them honest out there. I think you have to use your scheme to supplement them this year.
You're talking, and it's just the bells and whistles are going off in my head. Florida State 3 years ago, where you were facing Jared Verse, Fiske, like those guys that were just, and LSU just couldn't block them. And it took them until 2 weeks later to get Emory Jones in the lineup and shake things around, and you change your center and move Dellinger off and put Turner in. And by the time they got to November, like they had a pretty good offensive line, but they weren't any good the first game. And that's the nightmare scenario for this year, right?
I mean, absolutely, it's the nightmare scenario. Now, if your team with this much continuity looks as disorganized as LSU looked 3 years ago against Florida State, you have to ask some serious questions about Brian Kelly about why he can't get his team ready to line up for an opener. I mean, it's more than a weakness of the coach at that point. It's like, this has been your 4th year, man. I mean, you got both your coordinators returning. You lost one coach this offseason. You brought, your quarterback is coming back, and his number 1 receiver is back. What is going on here? Why does your team look good? Yeah, you lost 4 offensive linemen. Everybody's losing players around the country. So, yes, let's hope the conversation is not anywhere near similar. I'm not saying LSU can't lose the game and be all right, because Clemson is going to get, a lot of people are hyping them up as high as the number 1 team in the country. They might be a very good football team, and that's okay. I'm not guaranteeing that. But your team should not look as disorganized and in disarray as you did in 2022 when you got an entirely new coaching staff and an entirely new roster all learning how to play and coach together.
Agreed. Last one on the offensive line, Kerry Kern. Your thoughts on his season as a freshman? Do you think he breaks in at some point, or just a real talent that's going to be a depth piece and a future star?
I'll throw another one out there who's in the same category as Kerry Kern there, man. It's Solomon Thomas. You got 2 5-star interior offensive linemen, and you're just sitting there. You're wondering, are one of them going to have their Will Campbell moment where you've got veteran guys you're expecting to go out there? I don't know if you remember this, but Hunt, do you remember who we just had just penned in and dried ink at left tackle going into that 2022 season? It was Miles Frazier. We all were doomed to determine it was going to be Miles Frazier at left tackle. That's a no-brainer. Well, that true freshman came out and said, "Nah, that's me." So, look, because we have no idea who this actual starting 5 is going to be for this offensive line, yeah, both those guys have an opportunity to slide in and steal a starting spot if they're developed enough, if they're polished enough, because there's not multi-year veteran starters out there. And the one multi-year veteran starter you are bringing back, he had a shaky year last year, albeit as a younger player. But, I mean, essentially, yeah, any one of them could go out there and snag a starting spot, and they're both talented enough to do it. I just wonder, it's very tough for a true freshman on offensive line to come in because you just got to have years in that weight room, man. I mean, it is very difficult to be strong enough and developed enough with your technique to stand up against veteran SEC linemen as a true freshman. So, but you've got two candidates to do it, two very talented guys who if you were going to say this is the rare exception, I could believe you.
If this offensive line struggles a little bit in pass pro, especially at tackle, does that hurt Tradez Green's ability to get on the field if you've got to go with Sharp or even Donovan Green to block as a tight end?
I mean, absolutely it does, but it turns Tradez Green into a situational player.
Yeah.
If you need to get it, and more importantly, if Tradez Green doesn't develop as a blocker, he's probably set to be a situational player anyways. First off, Bauer Sharp is a good player, and he's a complete tight end that they feel they can use him as a receiver and a blocker, okay? Tradez Green, elite receiver, great goal line threat, but if he doesn't bulk up a little bit and he's capable of making, decent blocks, particularly to supplement a new pair of offensive tackles, yeah, I mean, he's going to be a situational player, and you might see him get some play in certain scenarios, but you're not going to see him out there on every single down, and it will take away from it. It'd be great to have a weapon like him that's just a vertical mismatch on any linebacker, or it would be great, but you might have to go with the proven blocker to supplement them if they aren't good enough. Now, if they turn out to be studs, man, I would really like to see you use Tradez Green on every play because he's so good in the receiving game.
No question about it. He equaled Mason Taylor's season-long touchdown catches in one bowl game. So he's a pretty talented dude. We'll see. We'll see you out there next week, Preston. Appreciate it.
All right, Hunt. See you soon.
Preston Guy, TigerBait.com. It's football season. If you want your info, your coverage, Tiger Bait always does an awesome job. Preston, good enough to give us some time here on this Friday. That's not something I thought of, but as you have these conversations on the air, your mind's going and you're thinking about where to go with the conversation next based on answers. And that's just something that popped into my head is if they're struggling at tackle and you need some help blocking, which happens all the time, like Tradez Green can't really do that. Like I don't think in Tradez Green's time here at LSU, he's going to become some elite blocker. He's just not built that way. He's, as I've talked about many times, he's a willing blocker. He wants to try, but he's got these long, skinny arms, relatively speaking, and he's less physical than he is freakishly athletic. So it's just, you're going to have to put Bauer Sharp out there. You may have to put Donovan Green out there, who's been a quality blocker at Texas A&M and is big and well over 250 pounds, and he can do some of that. And that limits you offensively when you take Tradez Green off the field. When you do that, you are taking one of your advantages off the field to counter one of the other advantages on the defense, which is rushing the passer against your tackles who aren't holding up. So it's just how everything works together. It's interesting that the offensive line is just so far and away the key to this season for LSU. For me, I don't even know what second is, but it's not that close. Because if they can hold up up front, they're going to win a ton of games. If they can't, they are compromised in a big way, and they're not going to win a ton of games. It's a massive, massive swinging point for this LSU team. So I appreciate Preston giving us a little bit of time. Hey, thanks for watching Hunt on LSU. Before you get out of here, do us a couple of favors. Hit that like button, leave your comments below, and subscribe to the channel for all your Fighting Tiger football talk. See you next time.